Hi. So let's talk about Act 2 of Hamlet, which I title Spies and Spying. We do not know how much time has passed between Act 1 and Act 2, but we do know that at the end of Act 1, Hamlet has talked to the ghost, and he has made his plan to start revenge against Claudius, and the first step of his revenge is to act crazy. So between Act 1 and Act 2, Hamlet has been acting insane, and it has been troublesome to the court. Obviously, Gertrude is concerned because nobody wants their son to go insane. But it's also a political problem because he has been announced to be the heir to the throne, and you cannot have a crazy king in charge. That's very deadly to a country's stability and to the peace and mind and economy of the people who are ruled by that king. So we don't know how much time has passed, but enough that the court is a little bit disequilibriumed. And that's part of the function of Hamlet's madness, is to buy some time, to allow him to misbehave, because we can always excuse it under the pretense of I'm crazy, and to sort of just get on Claudius's nerves in some ways, and to get on everybody's nerves, which is kind of Hamlet's thing at this point, because it's not easy to kill a king. As the ghost says to Hamlet, if thou hast nature in thee, bear it not. Meaning, the ghost is asking Hamlet to do something unnatural, which is to kill his uncle, to kill someone he's related to, and that's typically punished, as far back as the ancient Greek plays, where the Furies would come to get you if you killed somebody of your own blood. But we left Hamlet in Act 1 with the men swearing on his sword to not reveal that Hamlet is pretending to be mad. And in Act 2, we get a change of pace. It opens with Polonius talking to a character we'll see this one time and never see again, named Rinaldo. So we kind of go back to Polonius and his children and their plot. And scene 1 is mostly about Polonius and Ophelia, although we'll just touch on Polonius and Rinaldo there. But Polonius in this scene is very talky. He tends to be a very talky, and as Hamlet says, tedious old man. And it's not a pleasant scene. Polonius is hiring a man named Rinaldo to spy on his son in Paris. If you remember, Laertes has left for Paris. And this shows us something about who Polonius is. He's a spy master. And he's not above putting a spy on his own son, like bugging him or putting him on his GPS on his phone, or somehow just making sure he knows what Laertes is up to. Now, we can be charitable and say that Polonius is being a protective and loving father, but it just kind of seems sneaky, dishonest, and sordid. We also learn another aspect of Polonius' character, which is super irritating, is that he's a micromanager. He sits there and tediously tells Rinaldo exactly how to spy on his son, very nitpicky, and thinks that he's really brilliant at these things. The most despicable thing that Polonius does is he tells Rinaldo to lie about Laertes, to go fishing or entrap Laertes by finding the people who are Danish in Paris, all those expatriates like Laertes, and saying, hey, I heard there was a Danish guy in town named Laertes. I heard he was a bit of a drinker. I heard he liked to gamble. I heard he liked to go to whorehouses. I mean, even Rinaldo has some ethics and is like, surely you don't want me to say that your son has been drabbing, going to whorehouses. And Polonius is like, no, you may go so far. He says, we're going to bait a hook with falsehood and catch the carp of truth. And Polonius thinks he's brilliant with this sort of plan that he has. But Polonius has no shame about it. He thinks he's a spying genius, but actually in the play he has two spying techniques. One of them is pretend to read this book while you're listening, or hide behind a curtain. Those are sort of his two big tricks. I always say Polonius must have been cool, dangerous, and powerful when he was younger, but he does seem to be losing his touch, although he's very, very invested and very, very patriotically serving Claudius. Tedious is the word Hamlet uses to describe him. But we see that he's bumfuddly, or doddering, as I like to say, where he's in the middle of a huge speech to Rinaldo and says, by the mass, I was about to say something. What was I about to say? And then he goes back to what he was saying. Shakespeare thought tediousness was funny, and it can be funny. If you're watching the Gibson film, it is particularly funny. So Rinaldo leaves. He's actually not important. He's often cut from the play, but it does show us that Polonius is a spy, right? And he'll spy on his own children. But Rinaldo leaves, and scarcely does he leave, then Ophelia comes in. And she is upset. She is affrighted. She is distraught. And this is going to happen a lot in the play, I'm afraid. She has been freaked out by Hamlet. Hamlet, as we know, has been putting on his antic disposition, and he's been acting crazy, and it's been upsetting Ophelia. And the reason it's really upsetting Ophelia is, one, she loves Hamlet and she's concerned that he's lost his mind, and two, and even worse, is that she thinks she's the cause of it, because she has been obedient to her father and denied Hamlet access to her, and she thinks that she's not egotistical, she just thinks that Hamlet loves her so much that this denial maybe has pushed him over the edge. Now, this is a scene in Shakespeare that we kind of have to justify. It's called an unseen. Quoting the critic Marjorie Garber, it's where a character runs on stage and explains something that just happened off stage. And it's not our nature. We like our movies to show us everything and to not report things. But in this scene, when Ophelia reports it, Shakespeare is allowing us to focus on her and her reaction to it. The Gibson movie will show us Hamlet harassing Ophelia, which is kind of funny and sad. And then the other movie, if you're watching the Brana film, shows Ophelia reporting this. So it can be irritating, but it has its function. So Hamlet has been acting weird, right? He's basically been acting like an unrequited lover. This is a tradition, from Renaissance poetry. You can see it a lot in Shakespeare's sonnets or Petrarch's sonnets, where you have the man in love with the woman who is the cold mistress and will deny him, and the man goes crazy. Basically, Hamlet is performing the boy goes crazy for love scenario. He's sighing, his clothes are shambled, he acts weirdly obsessed with the girl, he looks like he hasn't eaten or shaven, and his clothes are all messed up. He looks like he just came out of hell. Ophelia describes it very accurately, and in the Gibson movie, Mel Gibson acts out all these things. So it's very disturbing that Hamlet is like not even speaking to her, just sort of behaving weirdly around her. And she feels responsible for it. Polonius is no comfort to his daughter here. He says things like, is Hamlet mad for thy love? And when she explains how he behaves, he says, yep, that's the very ecstasy of love. And when she describes more of what he does, he says, yep, that hath made him mad. It makes me very mad at Polonius to not be sensitive to, you are causing your daughter pain. But Polonius is interested, the P in Polonius stands for political. He's interested in information that will help him curry favor with the king. And so if he can explain to Gertrude and to Claudius why Hamlet is mad, then he looks like the problem solver and he's politically important. So we get our first sort of theory of Hamlet's madness. Is something people like to think about. Why is Hamlet crazy? Or is he really crazy? And Polonius' theory is that it is thwarted love. He wants to love Ophelia, he's been denied it, and he's gone crazy but because of it. So he decides at the end of this scene with Ophelia, let's go talk to the king and queen, and let's tell them that we have found the very cause of Hamlet's lunacy. And that's the end of scene 1.